How's it going? My name's Nick Pereira, and I'm here to share my journey. I came to the U.S. 2004, and in hopes of following a soccer dream. And in that time, I've been a national championship in Division One college soccer, the MVP of the championship game. I've been playing indoor soccer professionally for 14 years, two-time MVP, and I've scored over 100 goals for U.S. soccer, representing them at 3 World Cups and going to my fourth in February. Crazy thing about that is that at every juncture of that story of my journey, there were things telling me to stop, or things telling me that it wasn't going to work out, or that I wasn't good enough. And I think that the story and the journey here is one of perseverance and one of finding a path that was best for me. When difficulties arose, finding a niche that made sense for me and made me happy, and reinvigorated my love for soccer, because there were times at which in the journey, it didn't quite seem like it was going to go. Starting with college soccer in 2004, I came over from Europe to UC Santa Barbara, Division One national champion in 2006. But in '04, they went to the championship game, and I was a walk on in '04, and I didn't make the team. I think I got cut 10 days into preseason. I was there for 10 days. It wasn't working out. I wasn't fit enough. It just wasn't a good fit. And all the effort of coming over to the US and everything we'd done to get me here, to get me to play, was suddenly going to go down the toilet. And there was the question that was asked of me of, what am I going to do about it? And so in 2004, I didn't play. They went to the championship game and actually lost in penalties. And in spring of 2005, the first quarter that I was able to come back out, I made the team. Here we are a year later from that, and we're national championships in St. Louis, Missouri. I'm the MVP of the College Cup, scoring a goal and having an assist in a 2-1 win in the final against UCLA. So the turnaround was tremendous, but I guess it was one where it could have ended up very, very differently. The story could have been written very differently. And it was a moment in which I had to decide how much I loved soccer and whether I wanted to sacrifice certain things to get myself to that platform. And fortunately for me, it did, and that's been the story of my journey at everything I've ever done. It's always been that the initial reaction is a rejection. The initial reaction is that it doesn't work out. It doesn't seem like it's going to fit. And then perseverance and finding out how I can best be useful to the team and how I can best serve the team has allowed me to then progress to the next stage. And in certain cases, exceed expectations for not just myself personally, but also for the collective. So Santa Barbara had never won a national championship in soccer before, and in 2006, we lifted the trophy as an unseeded, unranked college team. So we had to go on the road almost the entire way through. We played Wake Forest in the semifinal. They were far better than we were, but we won in penalties. Then we played UCLA, and I think we smashed them in the final. It was 2-1, but I think we dominated the match. And I was the College Cup MVP, and so that's just one part of it. And as soon as I was finished with college, after my senior year, in which I had career years for myself personally, I went to the MLS Combine, again expecting that I would be drafted. Didn't get drafted. So now all of a sudden, this whole outdoor career, this whole path that I'd been on suddenly was laid bare, and there was nowhere for me to go. And what was I going to do? And this was in 2009. And there was no outdoor available at that time. It was either play in the MLS or don't play at all. So I was left with a moment in which I had to decide whether I wanted to play soccer or not, and how do I do it, and what do I do with my life? Do I now have to start a career? Do I take a job? Do I play? How do I marry my innate love for the sport and my expectations? And I think that a lot of athletes go through that moment in which the thing you've poured so much love and effort into kind of lets you down, or you feel let down by it. Fortunately for me, I found through indoor soccer, through beach soccer, through futsal, the technical side of the game, which was where my highlight, or where I was better and a bit different. My game was different. And those sports highlighted my good things, and the lack of physicality, pace, athleticism that hindered me in the outdoor game weren't as evident in the indoor game. So I began my career through beach soccer, and I was very lucky to get called up to the U.S. national team. We went to go play against Mexico, Brazil, and Spain. And in my first game against Mexico, we won the match. I scored 2 goals, and the rest is history. I've now been a captain for 7 years. I've got first player ever to score over 100 goals. There's my jersey for the U.S. beach national team. Captained the team for 2 World Cups, and I'll be captaining them again this February for the 3rd World Cup. and participating in my fourth World Cup. We've been to CONCACAF 6 times. I've been in the top 50 players in beach soccer in the world for the last 6 years running. Goal of the year in 2016. So that journey took me somewhere different, where at the time I didn't think it was going to take me somewhere. And entering beach soccer, entering a new sport, something that was so different to me and so hard and so outside of the norm, just felt like I didn't know what to expect, but it felt like the universe was trying to push me that way and gravitate, telling me to go somewhere that was a sort of uncharted path. And the same with indoor. I started with indoor in 2009, around the same time that beach soccer came in, and I've been playing professionally since 2009. 14, 15 years later, I've been playing, and I've been a league MVP twice. I've won a championship, 2 separate championships with 2 separate clubs. Scored over 400 points in the last 10 years in the Major Arena Soccer League, and it's been an amazing journey. But again, at every juncture, when I began playing indoor, I was barely getting any minutes. I wasn't playing. I wasn't sure if it was going to be good enough. I was going to be good enough. And there was no financial backing for the league. So we were playing for very little money. And how do we do this? And how do we fit it with my life? And I was very fortunate that I, first off, prioritized my studies, but also really cared about continuing my coaching education, continuing getting my badges, and making myself a life that allowed me to pursue the soccer that I wanted to pursue. And I've been doing it ever since. I've been holding down multiple jobs, sometimes while playing. I was the general manager for the OL Reign and the NWSL. I've been the executive director for Washington Youth Soccer in the youth soccer landscape. So I've done all these things to try to keep my soccer career going, when so many times during that path, it was told to me, well, you can never make money out of this. And it's just a sort of, it's a pipe dream. It's a passion. It's not a sport. It's not an employment. It's not a source of employment. Find something else. And I'm 37 years old. I'm still playing. I was a league MVP last year, and I feel like I'm never going to slow down with this. So for me, it's really been a story about when you find something and within the sport of soccer, when you care that much about the sport, when someone tells you no, when someone tells you this is hard, when someone tells you that you can't quite do it, you need to look within to decide whether that's something that you want to do, whether that's a passion of yours, or whether it's something you're doing for someone else. And I've always known that I do soccer for me. It's what makes me happiest. It's the place that I can find myself in my flow. And I knew that I had to try and chart a path for myself within the sport that allowed me to enjoy it the way I always had, reignite my passion and love for the game when it felt like it was letting me down, when it felt like the opportunities that I needed to grow, to go be a big time player were taken from me. It really was just pushing me in a new direction. And I think that the lesson that I would hope to share is that if you care about something enough, you'll find a way to make it work for you. And just because someone tells you that you're not good enough, or just because someone tells you that it doesn't fit right now, it just means it doesn't fit right now in that exact place you are. Doesn't mean that the next place isn't looking for someone exactly like you. And it also doesn't mean that you can't be successful a month down the road, a week down the road, a day down the road. It's hard to look at, as an athlete, we want results now. We want things done fast. But I think the reality is that if you care about things enough, you'll follow the process naturally and allow them to unfold the way they should. And I find that the universe will push you towards what you are meant to be doing, which in my case was small-sided soccer, futsal, beach soccer, indoor, all the modalities that are more technical, because my technical toolbox was different. And the last thing I will say is that I'm a coach. I've been coaching for a long time. I think that it's so important for athletes to remember that coaches have an opinion. And an opinion is simply that. It's someone's interpretation of the way that you see the game and the way that they see you within the game. And I think the most important thing to do is contextualize and understand that just because someone doesn't see that in you now doesn't mean that somebody else doesn't. And that was always really hard for me. I always felt like it was me against the world. And that just meant that I was fighting myself. So if anything, if my journey can inspire anyone to continue through the sport of soccer and knowing that hard moments will come and difficulties will pop up in your way, but if you care about it enough, you will find a way out of it, and you will find the life we were meant to lead through the sport of soccer, for me in particular. I think that's something I wish I had heard 20 years ago, 30 years ago, and especially when I was leaving outdoor soccer and it looked like there was no place for me. That's what I needed to hear. So if you love soccer, you'll find a way.